Luis from TradeOptionsWithMe.com here. Welcome to another video. I suppose the reason why you're watching this video is because you want to sign up to a broker, but you're unsure if you want to choose a cash or a margin account. If that's the case, I have good news for you. After watching this video, you should know which account type is for you and why. With that being said, let's get started right away. So first off, what is a margin account? In a margin account, you can borrow money from your broker to trade with. So trading on margin is trading with borrowed money, usually borrowed from your broker. However, obviously, you can't borrow all the money to trade with. You have to put up some of your own money as collateral. This collateral is also referred to as your margin. Let me give you an example. To open a position, you will have to put up buying power, no matter in which account you want to trade. So in cash account and in margin account, you need certain buying power to purchase or to sell assets. Let's say a position requires $1,000 to be opened. This could be a stock position, for instance, 10 shares of a $100 stock. That would require $1,000 of buying power, right? Makes sense? However, in a margin account, you won't have to put up the $1,000 required to open the position. Instead, you can put up $500 as margin, so that's your collateral, and borrow the remaining $500 required from your broker. This would mean that you would put up 50% margin to open that trade. So instead of having to put up $1,000, you only have to put up $500 to open the same position. So in essence, all that margin does is increase your buying power. I think this is best explained with a concrete example. Let's say XYZ is a stock that's trading for $100. You decide that you want to purchase 100 shares of XYZ. So to open that position, you would normally have to put up $10,000 of buying power. 100 times $100 equals 10,000. So you have to put up $10,000 of buying power to open that position. In a cash account, you would have to put up $10,000 of your own money to open this position. However, if you're trading in a margin account with 50% margin, you would only have to put up $5,000. That would be a leverage ratio of 1 to 2. So every dollar that you put up actually controls $2. But what happens if the stock price increases or decreases? Let me tell you that. If the stock price increases, you can keep all the gains, even those made with the borrowed money. You just have to pay back that money that you borrowed to your broker. Usually you also have to pay interest on the borrowed money, just like with any money that you borrow. However, often these interest rates don't play a huge role if you aren't planning on holding a position for ages, but more on that later. So trading on margin can actually magnify your profits. A $5,000 position in a cash account would lead to less profits than a $5,000 position in a margin account. But this doesn't only hold true to the upside. If you lose money, it's your problem and not your broker's. All you have to do is pay back your broker all the money that you borrowed from them. In our example, you borrowed $5,000 from your broker. You put up $5,000 as margin, and the remaining $5,000 required to open the 100 shares of XYZ were put up by your broker. So you borrowed $5,000. This means no matter what happens, you have to pay back your broker these $5,000. So if the position goes against you, you still have to pay them back $5,000, even though that would lead to a loss in your account. if a position goes too far against you, your broker may actually require you to put up more margin or more money as collateral. This is also referred to as a margin call. So if a position goes too far against you, you will receive a margin call. This means you have to either deposit more money to your broker account, close out other positions, or do nothing. If you do nothing, your broker will close the positions for you. I hope this example made it clear how a margin account works and how margin works. Therefore, let's move on to a cash account. Cash accounts are much simpler. You deposit money to the cash account, and that's the money that you can trade with. So if you deposit $1,000, you have a buying power of $1,000. If a stock costs $200 per share, then guess what? You have to pay $200 per share. Pretty simple, right? So every dollar that you put up controls $1. So nothing fancy here. As you can see, cash accounts are much simpler than margin accounts. But does that mean that they're better than margin accounts? Let's answer that question now. Now I will list some pros and cons of both margin and cash accounts. Let's start with the pros of margin accounts. First off, one big pro of margin accounts is the flexibility. In margin accounts you are very flexible. You can trade almost any strategy that your heart desires. For instance, short selling and all option strategies are allowed in margin accounts. And this isn't necessarily the case for cash accounts, but more on that in a few seconds. The next pro of a margin account is the increased buying power. In margin accounts, you just have more buying power even though you don't deposit more money. So in margin accounts you have the ability to purchase more expensive things than you would in a cash account. Nevertheless, there are some disadvantages of margin accounts as well. So let's discuss them now. The first disadvantage is more risk. Together with more buying power and thus increased profit potential, also comes an increase in risk. So if you use a lot of leverage and don't completely know what you're doing, this could be very risky. Therefore, it's very important that you actually know what you're doing. With that being said, I think no matter in what account you're trading, you should always know what you're doing. Otherwise, there's no point in trading. The next disadvantage of margin accounts is that they're somewhat complicated. You probably noticed throughout this video so far that margin accounts are much more complex and complicated than simple cash accounts. So it does take some time and some thinking to completely understand how margin works and how margin accounts work. Another con of margin accounts is that they require a minimum equity. To use margin privileges, you will need to have a minimum equity amount in your account. The amount that's required to have as minimum equity depends on the broker, but a common figure is around $2,000. Another disadvantage is that your broker has control. If your broker thinks that your position is too risky for them, you will receive a margin call. But even if they give you a few days to answer that margin call, they still have the right to close that position because you're trading with their borrowed money. So usually this doesn't happen very often, but it's still a disadvantage to know that your broker can decide when to close and when not to close your positions. Last but not least, you have to pay interest on the borrowed money. The impact of this really depends on your trading strategy. If you're just planning on day trading and buying and selling assets within the same day or within a few minutes of each other, then this won't be a problem. But if you're planning on buying and holding assets for years, these interest payments can actually significantly impact your results. The interest rates also depend on your broker, and often the size of your account also plays a role. So usually bigger accounts have to pay lower interest rates than smaller accounts. Now that you've heard the pros and cons of margin accounts, let's move on to the pros and cons of cash accounts. Once again, I'll start with the pros. The first pro is the limited risk in a cash account. You deposit money to a cash account and that's all you can lose. You can't lose more than the initial investment. So that's a good thing. Another good thing is that they're very simple and very easy to understand. You deposit money and you can trade with that money. There really isn't much more to it. Now let us move on to the disadvantages of cash accounts. The first disadvantage is that there are quite some limitations in cash accounts. Apart from some simple buying strategies, you can't really do that much in a cash account. For instance, you can't short sell and you can't trade any advanced option strategies. And in my opinion, this is a pretty big disadvantage. So if you're planning on short selling, then don't even consider a cash account because you can't do it in it. The next pretty obvious disadvantage is that compared to a margin account, you have much less buying power. $1,000 deposited to a cash account will allow you to buy less than $1,000 deposited to a margin account. Another disadvantage is that in cash accounts, the money that you trade with takes time to settle. So if you buy something with money one day, you often have to wait a few days before you can use that money to trade with again. The time that it takes to settle depends on the asset. That can be quite annoying as well, especially if you're an active trader. So which account type is best for you? This really depends on your personal preferences and on your trading style. I can't answer that question if I don't know that. So if you want me to help you personally, just leave a comment below telling me what your situation is and I will do my best to help you. However, I also want to give you some examples just to give you an idea of which account is best for who. First off, if you're planning on short selling or trading slightly more advanced option strategies with undefined risk or something like that, then it's a no-brainer. You have to take a margin account. You can't trade these strategies in cash accounts. However, if you're a longer term investor and like to buy and hold assets for long periods of time, I personally actually think that a cash account might be a better choice for you. The reason why I recommend cash accounts for longer term investors is mainly that the interest rates that you have to pay would probably eat away a lot of your gains. Generally, if all you're planning on doing is performing some simple buying strategies and you don't want anything complicated, a cash account is totally fine for you. But if you're planning on trading more actively and maybe doing some slightly more advanced stuff, more shorter term trading, then I think a margin account may be better for you than a cash account. But once again, this really comes down to personal preferences and to your trading style. So if you need some help, just let me know in the comment section below and I will try to help you with your decision. But no matter what you do, please be sure that you fully understand all the risks and you also know what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're in a cash account or in a margin account. If you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna lose. Period. Before you risk any money, make sure to have an actual trading plan, an actual trading strategy, and generally you should have at least some trading knowledge. Also note that you can always change your account type or open another account later on. This isn't an end-all decision. You can still change later on, so you can't really go too wrong with either of these account types. Otherwise, I really hope that I could help you out with your decision, and if not, please let me know in the comment section below how I can assist you. Thanks so much for watching. I truly hope you enjoyed my video. It would be very kind of you if you could leave a like if you enjoyed the video, or generally share your thoughts in the comment section below. Once again, thanks for watching.